I welcome this opportunity to debate access to insulin pumps across Scotland, and I'd like to thank members across the Chamber who have signed my motion and also who have deferred their travel arrangements to constituencies and regions to be here this evening. I would also, Deputy Presiding Officer, warmly welcome to the gallery members of the Insulin Pump Awareness Group and representatives of Diabetes UK. On a quick personal note, Deputy Presiding Officer, could I also welcome my son Andrew, who is here. He's doing a PhD in neuroscience at Edinburgh University, and this is his first time in the Parliament this evening. I just hope he's not after my seat, Deputy Presiding Officer. But why have another debate on diabetes? Well, Scotland, as members will be aware, has the third highest incidence of diabetes in the developed world. It's, of course, the main cause of blindness of those of working age in Scotland today, and half of all the non-traumatic lower limb amputations are also due to diabetic complications. According to the NHS Quality Improvement Scotland, diabetic care now costs £1 billion, or 10% of the NHS budget. Now, members will be well aware that diabetes is a condition where the body can't use glucose properly. If untreated, diabetes can lead to heart disease, stroke and kidney complications. Of course, there are two forms of diabetes: type 1, or early onset, which, as the name suggests, usually develops in younger people, and type 2, or maturity onset, which largely affects people over 40 and is the most prevalent form of the condition. Many members will be aware of my campaign and Diabetes UK for a high-risk screening programme for type 2 for those over 45, those with a family history and those who are overweight. Deputy Presiding Officer, the purpose of this debate is to highlight and argue for greater use of continuous subcutaneous insulin infusion, or perhaps it's easier to pronounce, insulin pump therapy for eligible type 1 diabetics. Or in the word of the campaign slogan from Diabetes UK Scotland, pump up the volume. Ensure those who could benefit from good quality of life are given a pump and not denied one. In their submission to Better Diabetes Care consultation, Diabetes UK Scotland quoted the mother of a 13-year-old boy with type 1 diabetes, and I quote, "Scotland is in the dark ages as far as access to pumps is concerned. This must be addressed. Rates of type 1 diabetes on pumps is among the poorest in Europe. This is a real postcode lottery." Unquote. So what does a pump do, Deputy Presiding Officer? Well, it's an external device that continually infuses insulin into the user's body and controls glycaemic levels, which many users would otherwise struggle to achieve. So with the pump, insulin levels can be increased by simply pressing a button on the pump instead of using a pen needle, which can be embarrassing for individuals, particularly when they inject in public. And as I heard earlier from the Pump Action Group, it's also a great reassurance for parents, particularly if they've got teenagers who have a pump, particularly when they're out and about at weekends and other parts of the week. So insulin pump empowers users to have greater control over the condition, as it gives them more flexible and reliable means of managing their glycaemic levels. So improved control over health means improvement in quality of life. It also means fewer hospital visits, more productive work life and less stress at home. It also means fewer hospital admissions and reduction in primary care contact, which means there is less strain on the NHS. Now, Diabetes UK Scotland have argued that there is a saving of more than 23,000 over 2 years, which of course comfortably offsets the cost of initially providing pump therapy. But I think, Deputy Presiding Officer, it's important to look at the big picture here. And let's look at the costs of poorly controlled diabetes. For example, a one-night stay in hospital following admission to A and E for a diabetic emergency is around £410. One course of laser treatment for retinopathy is around £850. A procedure of dialysis treatment is £500, and renal dialysis is over £15,000. Now, the NICE guidelines, the National Institute of Clinical Excellence, estimate that between 10 and 15% of Scotland's 27,500 type 1 population are eligible for pump therapy, yet only 1.6, which is roughly 448, actually have a pump. The English figure has been estimated by one consultant as around 5%. So why this disparity? Do people with type 1 diabetes in Scotland have any less needs than patients over the border? And the user group for insulin pumps tell me that in Leeds, a paediatric clinic has over 40% of eligible type 1 patients on pump therapy. Deputy Presiding Officer, I did a little bit of international comparisons. In the United States, the figure is 40%. In Israel, it's 20%. In Germany, it's 18%. And in answer to my Parliament question, Deputy Presiding Officer, that the Minister will be aware of in July 2009, I asked a simple question. What percentage of type 1 diabetics are users of pumps by health board areas? And a very quick summary, and I'm glad I've got Cathy Jameson next to me, who's taken some interest in this particular issue. Ayrshire and Arran had a disgraceful 0.1, which really is a dunce's cap for that particular authority. Greater Glasgow, 1.9, Tayside, 4.2, Lothian a bit better at 3.2, and Fife, 2.4. And in my own NHS board, Deputy Presiding Officer, which Mary Scanlon I'm sure will take an interest in, the figure was a pitiful 0.9. So I asked a simple question, Deputy Presiding Officer. If it's good enough for Hollywood, if it's good enough for Honolulu, and good enough for Houston, why not Highland? Now, type 1, or early onset, has a peak age diagnosis of around 10 to 14 years. So those with type 1 will have a lifetime experience of the condition. I had a close family relative who was diagnosed with type 1 when he was 12. He died in 2007, aged 75. He had 63 years first-hand experience of the condition. He told me at the time of the regular daily pen needle injections, having to balance each dose. And of course, as we all know, too much insulin, of course, can lead to hypoglycemia, coma or death. So, insulin pumps give greater control over the levels of blood glucose. There's less chance of diabetics developing complications. So pumps give precise doses, which lowers blood glucose and increases life expectancy, which of course was confirmed by the recent diabetic control and complication trial study. So an insulin pump is about the size of a pager, and as someone said to me recently, probably less irritating. It's also the closest substitute to the body itself making and delivering its own insulin. Of course, I do accept, Deputy Presiding Officer, that the cost is initially more expensive. But in the long term, as I said already, there are savings through less hospital admissions. So the big picture is to seek an end to postcode prescribing. We need to monitor more what health boards are doing. And I'm sure the Minister, Deputy Presiding Officer, will mention that in summing up. We need to ensure that they're implementing the targets set down nationally. Now, Diabetes UK Scotland, when they're responding to Better Care consultation, said, and I quote again, "The difficulty appears to be the result of a number of pressures in the system. Local resources are inefficient. Business cases are slow to be made. There are pockets of professional scepticism about the effectiveness of pump therapy that come from historical basis. It appears that questions around costs and accuracy of quality of life remain with the health service." Unquote. And in conclusion, Deputy Presiding Officer, as I'm seeing the time, I made clear, I think, that the benefits of pumps are simply this. There is decrease in blood glucose, insulin levels go down, a reduction in very severe episodes, and a fall in admission. So in conclusion, I would ask the Minister to pump up the volume, spread the word on the effectiveness of insulin pumps, give hope and confidence to our young people and diabetics of all ages to be able to live their lives free of diabetic complications. Thank you.